Now, we're amidst a galaxy of outstanding risk managers tonight, and I know that Shireen is really eager to have a chat with them. So with that, Shireen, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Sumit. You're absolutely right. And let me ask the chairman here of BPCL, Mr. Vaidarajan, what is the number one risk that you foresee? What are you anticipating as far as global crude prices? What kind of levels are you watching out for? Is this bounce back for real? Is it sustainable?
Well, I think if you are into the downstream sector, I think the first thing you stop predicting is the crude prices. You're fortunate that you have a pass-through mechanism, which most of the downstream companies do. But fortunately, we took the risk of getting into the upstream. We have some extremely good assets which have come up. And to that extent, I think we are hoping that the 70 to 80 range is what could be seen in the medium term. Very clearly, some of the investments which we are going to make in the upstream is going to run into some couple of billions of dollars. And to that extent, we would expect prices to be at a steady state to support the kind of investments which we are looking at as part of the upstream.
Since we had Ms. Akhil Gupta present us with the keynote, sir, the number one risk for 2015, spectrum auctions or net neutrality?
Spectrum auction was no risk. It was a reality. I mean, we knew it would happen. The only thing was how much amount would need to be spent. So again, that is something you have to just prepare for. But net neutrality is no risk. My belief is, you ask on this planet 7 billion people, are you in favor of net neutrality? You would not get a single negative vote. So obviously it can't be a risk. But net neutrality's understanding is a bit of a risk.
Okay, so zero rating plans, the number one calculated risk for Bharti in 2015?
Not at all. I think there is a huge misconception that it was a plan. It was a platform which allowed other content providers to do a kind of a call collect. So unfortunately it just boomeranged into a big debate. But the fact is, it wasn't even a tariff plan from Airtel. Therefore, I think quite a wrong concept in terms of linking it to net neutrality. It could have been questioned to Flipkarts or anybody who used it, whether they were violating net neutrality. It was just a platform.
Thank you very much. Let me hop across now and speak with D. Shivakumar, the man who heads Pepsi in India. Shiv, Coke and regulation, what's the number one risk?
I don't think regulation is a big risk in our industry. In most FMCG...
Not yet in India, maybe.
In most FMCG, I think most regulators are sensible.
So, Coke a risk, not a risk?
Competition is never a risk.
So, what are you most worried about today?
Rural incomes. That's something I think most FMCG companies would be worried about. Is there enough coming through? Because while rural contributes only 36% of FMCG, I think almost all the growth, 65% of growth is coming there. So rural has to fire for FMCG.
Let me go across to Amit Kalyani here from Bharat Forge. Let me ask you about the defense bet, because that's a big bet that you're making. What are the risks associated with that?
So this risk is diametrically opposed to what Pepsi faces. We have one customer, and that customer makes all the rules, and we're very happy to work with that customer. Unfortunately, that customer is not used to working with corporate India yet. And I think the procedures for working with private Indian companies and the Indian private sector are being, let's say, made easier, made more structural. There's a lot of dialogue and discussion going on between government and industry. So while I think it's going to take time, it's obvious that that's a huge opportunity and companies need to prepare themselves. And like we have done, we've allocated part of our manufacturing capacities and capabilities to develop products which we can manufacture and supply to the Indian industry and the export markets. And I was talking to Bhaskar earlier and I said that it's very possible that we will probably start exporting products before we actually start supplying in India.
Between you and your father, who's the bigger risk taker?
Clearly my father.
All right. Let me go across to our partners in crime, KPMG, because they've been working with ICICI, Lombard and CNBC TV18 in putting this effort together. Tax concerns, the number one risk when we talk about investing in India today?
Absolutely. I think those are some of the issues that most of the organizations look at, and that's the first port of call to understand what the tax issues are and really how it impacts the investment in the country.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for joining us here this evening.
Stay tuned as we unveil the winners of the India Risk Management Awards after a short break.